new moon and we're uploading a video and we're filming a video and we're manifesting that this is what we want.
Hi, I'm Danny.
Hi, I'm Mel.
And we're the Sheehan sisters. If you haven't seen our faces before, we like to do commentary and podcast style videos on different topics we like to talk about.
As always, grab your coffee, tea, water, some snacks, get cozy, because we have a lot to talk about today.
Okay, I have to say something.
Say it. That's why we're here.
I don't know if you're the same way, but if I don't have milk, I don't like to put any sweetener in my coffee. Like, it's either I'm gonna drink black coffee or I'm gonna drink my coffee with milk and a sweetener. Does this make sense?
So you either want black coffee or milk and sugar, no in between.
Right. Right now I have some residual caramel because I ran out of oat milk. So
for me, I would run to the store because I am.
So you can't drink any black coffee as is.
No, I can drink black coffee, but I don't really want to.
No, I get it.
I'm being picky about it. I'm like, and plus I do have a grocery store. It's like literally across the street. So it was just like, all right.
No, I have one literally across the street too, but sometimes I'm like, you know what? It is what it is. I finished my oat milk with my first glass, so I was prepared to have just black coffee for our episode. And I need to share that with you all because you have to understand my coffee journey.
I was just gonna say, like, we need a compilation of Danny's coffee journey, her coffee ventures, of the salted caramel.
And it's never exactly. It's never the same. So don't try to find a pattern. You know, I think about, like, if I ever have a stalker, never will. Protect it, connect it and protect it. But if I ever did, if anybody's trying to like find a routine for me, you won't be able to.
I was literally, before you said that, I was literally about to be like, well, I'm a creature of habit. And then you said that and I was like, oh, no, maybe not.
Well, listen, there are some routines I do. I'm not going to say it because, again, I don't want the weirdos and the creeps, which ties into our topic today, as you can see in the title.
We don't want anyone obsessed with us in a negative light. Actually, not even in any way, probably. It's not healthy.
Right. I was just watching this YouTuber who said that I wouldn't call people who watch us fans at all. Like, I'm not into that. But this YouTuber has a large following, and they were saying that one of their stans got a replica of the tattoos they have. And I was thinking about it, like, how would I feel if somebody did that? But you know what? All my tattoos are cliches, and they're also from the Friday the 13th sale. So it's like I probably have multiple people in this world that have the same tattoos as me.
Right. We just want supporters. We don't want a fan base. We're not going to give you guys a name. Not that there's anything wrong with people who do that, but we're trying to build community, as we've said previously. So yeah, I've talked about this too, like not wanting to be famous, because I don't want people to have that kind of mindset towards me. Like, I'm just a normal person.
Right. I know. Listen, back to having a routine. Yes, there are certain things I do habitually, but I still feel like people won't be able to track where I'm at because I don't do things like, oh, at this time I always do this, at this time I always do that. Like, I'm just somebody that you can't figure out. I'm mysterious. I'm not like other girls.
She's an enigma.
No, for so many years, I remember telling Theo this. I'm like, I don't want anybody to figure me out. Like, I don't want anyone to know me. And I had that complex for so many years. I mean, I still have that feeling with like people from my past where I'm like, you think you knew a version of me, but you don't know me.
Well, that goes also into the topic we're going to talk about today, because be careful what you wish for. You didn't want anyone to know you, and now how do you feel about that?
I am so lonely. I have nobody.
You want people to know you eventually, because sometimes I feel like if we had to answer questions about each other,
No, obviously you know me.
but you change your mind a lot, so I'd be like, fuck, I don't know. Like, how does Danny like her coffee? I'd be like, well, it depends on what the day is.
Well, listen, yes, but always oat milk and caramel. I mean, that's my go-to. If someone bought me an oat milk caramel latte, I would be so happy.
Yeah, you and I used to do oat milk vanilla for a long time, though.
Yes.
So we both switched to caramel. But I feel like we haven't spent enough time in person together. I feel like we've changed and grown as we've gotten older.
For sure. Can I tell you something? I remember I had this supervisor at one of my jobs, one of my many jobs, y'all. Mel and I have had so many jobs.
We've had a lot of jobs, and we'll definitely have to talk about them one day.
Not because we got fired from them all, but because
Not all of them, just maybe one or two.
maybe one or two.
I actually just got a new job, but I'm gonna let you finish.
Congrats. We'll tell them about it. No, I had this supervisor, right? And so the supervisors would make the schedule for the day, and we would be in different sections, and she was in the section that I was in with somebody else, me and my coworker. And I found out she's a Cancer, so she was all like, she was like, I like to get to know like my staff, like I like to get to know my team. And we did end up having a nice conversation, but I think I alluded to like not wanting people to know too much about me, and she was like, we want to know all the layers of your onion, Danielle, like Danny. And I was like, in my head, I'm like, I don't trust you. I don't trust you.
Well, you need to unpack that.
No, this was years ago.
But no, I tell people sometimes that I'm a private person, especially I feel like they're getting too personal.
Right, especially in the work environment. Like, you got to be careful what people know, because when you want to call out for a fake reason, you don't really want people to know too much about your life, to be like, oh yeah, well, their grandmother died years ago. It's like, I saw this post that was saying like, go into a job with like all living grandparents, because all of our grandparents are dead, but they were saying like, go into the job, if your grandparents are deceased, like go into the job saying all your grandparents are alive so that you can.
No, I don't like that. I personally don't like people using death as an excuse.
That is messed up. I've never done that. I wouldn't lie about somebody dying.
Right. Just because, like, we've mentioned this before, but Danny and I have experienced a lot of death in our family. And then it's like, I never want someone to feel like I'm lying, because I'm like, this is really happening. And
No, see.
yeah, just say you're sick. That's it. Just say.
Right, just say you're sick. Right.
Because you're wishing, again, going into, I'm really trying to
bring it up to
transition, where you're wishing that and you're speaking that into existence.
Yes. So, you want to tell them what our main topic today is a movie analysis, a movie review. And it seems to be causing a divide amongst the internet.
As does most things these days. I think we spoke about this too. There's not much that really is going to bring us together.
You know what it's funny you say that, right? Because I had this thought. I'm sorry, the coffee's hitting me and I'm feeling like the road runner right now. I had this thought and I'm like, Is there any, and I Googled this, I'm like, is there anything on Earth?
We've talked about this.
No, that we're all not allergic to. And it was like, no, there's going to be something that everyone is allergic to. So I'm like, you know what? We all agree that we have allergies.
There's gonna be a comment, I'm not allergic to anything.
Because they're special.
Exactly. So we recently watched the movie Obsession.
Yes, Mel told me to watch it. I wasn't privy to it. And you know what? I enjoyed the movie.
Yes, I feel like we needed a good horror film. I feel like it's been a while since we've had, not a while, but I feel like good horror films don't come out as often as they once used to.
There was no point in time as I was watching the movie that I felt bored. So I was like, that's great.
Yes, and I think it was like a quick pace movie.
Yeah, so it was created and directed by Barker. I keep wanting to say Baker for some reason.
I feel like that's somebody though, right?
Like I've heard the name before, even though Curry is not a common name.
No, but I feel like there's someone Baker that you're thinking of, and I don't know. Anyway.
Curry Barker is the creator and director, and we actually watched a few of Curry's horror shorts on YouTube that we wanted to talk about as well before we get into the movie. But our overall theme today is spooky, Summerween, spiritual, crystals, casting spells. We're finally bringing, the witches are here for the summer. You know what? We said this before and we'll say it again. We used to melt, we used to disappear, okay, during the summer season. But you know what? I feel like now with the rise of Summerween, we're like, okay, our presence is required.
Yes, the Sheehan sisters are here. And we spoke about this too, that we usually resurrect in the fall. But we
Yes.
never fully embrace spooky season the way we want to. And we have so many ideas planned. And we're probably just, we're like, let's just get started into it now. Like we keep saying we want to talk about these things. We keep saying we want to experience things, but we're not experiencing them, you know? So we're here to experience them, and we want you to experience them with us. But no, seriously,
Oh, speaking of spooky season, so I have been rewatching Charmed.
okay.
I had a point I wanted to make before with Charmed. When it comes to like knowing somebody.
Well, I just wanted to say, before you cut me off,
Oh yeah, your job.
no, not that. I wanted to say that every time we try to talk about spooky and paranormal stuff, I feel like something happens in the video. Like we did one where we were painting pumpkins and we were sharing scary stories, and I don't think that's on our channel anymore because there was like issues that we faced, like technical issues. And then there is a video still on our channel where we built the gingerbread houses and we were trying to do spooky Christmas. And the quality in my video is like, just go back to see that video. The quality is so bad for no reason. And we just feel like every time we try to talk about spooky stuff, something happens.
But not today. It's so weird because Mel and I have a lot of supernatural stories, but and we are very witchy and like very spiritual, and we've mentioned this before, but we don't show it as often. But I feel like we're not the performative witches, you know, like on Witch Talk where it's like, oh.
We're not that. And I want to talk about that today too, going off the movie. And it's something that's personal to us and not something that we want to profit off of. But we do want to share some paranormal stories with you all. And also, I think some of the people who are on that side of the internet are not fully versed in things, and they're quick to pull out their camera and
Well, are we fully versed?
No, but I mean, we aren't, I mean, it's hard to be fully versed on anything. It's going to take years, but I feel like we try our best to research and read books. And again, it's something that's personal to us because we see it as a spiritual practice rather than like a gimmick. And like going off of this movie where the main character, Bear, makes a wish, I think talking about, you know, people who practice magic, which there are real people who practice magic and spells. And there are, I think, people who do it without any knowledge behind it, where they do make the wish of like, I want someone to fall in love with me, thinking that there's not going to be consequences, or they're putting people's name in the freezer or burying it. You know what I'm saying? Like, people are doing some crazy shit out there.
And it's wild because I mentioned to Mel recently, I said I feel like there are more people out there that do some type of spiritual magical ritual than people realize. Right? Because there are the skeptics and there are the people who find those rituals to be demonic, right? So it is complex, right? I do think there are more people out there doing some sort of magical ritual more often than you think. And I want to put a disclaimer. If Mel and I do any type of spell, it's more of like manifestation or like clear out negativity, clear out roadblocks. I'm not doing no spell on anybody. I don't believe in that. I personally don't do that. But there are people who do, so be careful. Be very careful.
And there are people who are doing it in a demonic way. Not all of it is demonic, but some people are doing it in an evil way. And I think going off of what Danny said.
Sorry, go ahead.
Going off of.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just not gonna talk this video.
It's the cat. This is what happens when I drink coffee black.
Okay, calmate. Por favor.
I have so many things to say, so you better hurry up.
Or else now you're throwing me off track because I want to say something, you keep interrupting, and now my brain's like, what was I even gonna say?
Oh Lord. Okay, wait. Let me calm down.
Going off what Danny said, yes, we do magic for ourselves where we're speaking things into existence, hopefully. But there are other people who are wishing bad onto others and wishing negativity and trying to take away people's autonomy. And I don't like that. And I think that's another thing where it's like, you're not, I don't know how I want to phrase it. Like, again, like where it's like, oh, with great power becomes great responsibility, right? So it's like you trying to control outcomes, right? Where I feel like manifestation isn't that. You're not like forcing something that you're not already working towards.
Right, exactly. And you can't just manifest a house by just sitting on your couch. Like, you still have to put work in to get that manifestation, right?
And then to bring science into it, like psychology shows that positive affirmations and positive talk is good for you, and it's going to lead you to be more motivated.
Yes. Well, I was also going to say, I think there are people out there who are wishing, like, they might not be doing some sort of like spiritual practice, but like they're like constantly thinking about something, and it could be negative or could be positive, and that is just a spell in and of itself.
Right, they have the evil eye. This is not, they're looking at you with the jealousy and the hatred, and they're projecting that onto you. You gotta be careful.
But you know what I also think is funny? Like, not everything is magic. I saw a post, right? And it's like, oh, you gaining weight wasn't somebody else's black magic. But I did have a thought. I'm like, I bet you somebody put it out there that they wish that somebody was putting out there that like I hope Danny becomes fat. Like, I really do.
no. Stop.
Anyways,
That's not, but then you're taking it as a negative thing.
But anyways, you'll never touch the skin though, bitches. Never.
Face cards never declining in this.
Anyways, I gotta stop. Let me stop. So
That's the thing too. I think people are like what?
back to Bear.
You need to calm down.
I'm dying.
But anyway, let's get into
What shirt are you wearing today? Is it for our spiritual video?
Yes, dreamers are. Wait, what does it say?
Take me to the moon.
Take me to the moon. Dreamers, take me to the moon.
As we're filming
I
this.
am wearing a spiritual shirt, yes.
Yes, cute. And as we're filming this, it is a new moon. Mel and I like to follow the moon cycle. I don't know what these other witches be following, but we follow the moon.
Yes, I love the moon. I tell the moon I love you every time I see it.
And does she say it back?
She does. She loves me too. Wow.
Wow.
Me and the moon have a special connection that you just wouldn't understand.
Nobody gets it. Okay.
And to those that think the moon is fake, no, it's not.
I was just gonna say it, but if it's a simulation where it's.
I do believe sometimes I really do believe we are in a simulation. But then that means everything is fake. So then it just really, everything is fake, but then everything is real to us.
Right. So then our magic is still real.
Right. We are as real as we think we are.
Okay, prophetic, philosophical Mel is here today.
Yes, that's my goal in life. I think I said this in a previous video. When I'm older, I'm just gonna
walk around barefoot being philosophical.
Yeah. Reading the prophecies out.
Socrates would be proud.
Someone's got to carry on the legacy because I feel like we're losing it. We're losing the plot every day in this society, in this simulation.
Are you going to be walking around with the robots?
And then that's another top. We're going to start spiraling down.
That's for the next episode, though.
Because a part of me is like, well, we created them, and now, you know what I'm saying? Sympathizing with them because they didn't ask for this either.
Now she's sympathizing with the robots.
God, like,
if only the world had an ounce of your empathy, we would be in a better place.
Aw, thank you.
All right, so let's get into it. Do we want to talk about the short films? Because we initially intended to, but we could just jump into the movie if you prefer.
No, we can talk about both. Where did you want to start? So I did want to say, okay, it's coming back. When I looked into the director of Obsession, I was like, oh shit, Danny, we've already watched short films by this director. And while I was watching the film, I was thinking of the particular short film called The Chair. That's what I was thinking of while watching it. And then I was like, oh, makes sense. It's the same director, screenwriter. So,
well, what about Obsession reminded you of the short film The Chair? Is it The Chair or just Chair? I think it's The Chair, right?
It's The Chair, yeah. Just certain scenes that were filmed. You can definitely see the style that the director likes. Just like certain scenes where like certain parts are darker. Like, you know, like the scene in The Chair where the girl wakes up in the middle of the night and she's screaming is very similar to scenes in Obsession where she's awake in the middle of the night, and then there's certain scenes where like someone's in the corner. Just like, yeah, just the aesthetic of it.
Oh my God, I love that scene when the wife wakes up in the middle of the night and she's screaming, but then she smiles and looks at her husband and then goes back to sleep.
Yes.
Wonderfully done.
So in The Chair, the husband brings home a chair that he finds on the side of the road. And all these events spiral after that, where it's kind of alluding at first that the chair might be haunted. But as the story goes on, we learn that. Am I jumping ahead too much? I'm trying to just summarize it.
I'm curious because so you do think it's because he does actually have the sickness?
Right. So at the end, it's revealed in a sense that the main character might have Alzheimer's. That's what his wife tells him anyway, as to why all these weird things keep happening. And I do see it as a metaphor for that, and I do think the old man is him.
Ooh.
That was my interpretation.
Okay. That's interesting. I was looking at it as like the chair is haunted and like be careful what you bring into your home and like it invited that entity. But I could see he's also sick and has disease and then his mind is spiraling. It's good. It's good.
Right, because he's not remembering things. There's definitely a clear scene of the calendar and him circling the anniversary, and then him being like, didn't I get rid of the chair? And like not remembering a lot of what was happening.
Right, and then she mentions that he like lashed out at work, which I also think is a side effect, right, of
Alzheimer's, where you sometimes act out of character or you get angry because you're not fully in your mind and you don't know what's happening.
The mind is a powerful place. That's why I don't understand people who are opposed to manifestation, like you were saying, because the worst case, right, is if you want to do positive affirmations, you're still projecting positivity around you, and
Right.
you do have to keep your mind sharp. And I know it's genetic, right? Alzheimer's?
Yeah, I think so.
Obviously, there are diseases that are genetic or diseases that, you know, you can't prevent, unfortunately, and there is no cure.
But still try your best to keep your mind sharp and do activities. And that's why we talk about the literacy crisis on this channel all the time. And that's why we're like, we need to start reading more because we need to keep our brain from turning to mush.
Right.
And I do think the director, Curry Barker, likes to have his movies where there is that kind of line between horror and reality.
Yes, I agree. Which is why we wanted to talk about obsession today, because we are interested in the occult and we do participate in some sort of spiritual ritual, right? I don't think it's, for me personally, it's not as consistent as other people, I would say. Like, I really only I do read tarot, and like I would do readings often, and I would pull cards every morning before my day. But I think as I gotten older, I did pull away from tarot a little bit more, and then I also pulled away from my crystals. But I think that's just my personal preference. Like, I'm gonna go in and out of that cycle with my spirituality.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas, like, okay, if I feel like I want to light a candle or do like an affirmation, then I'm gonna do that when I feel it, not so ritualistically that it's gonna be weekly or even monthly. What about you?
I do affirmations every day, in the morning and at night. And I'm also someone who has anxiety and other disorders, and I feel like it does help me to get through the day. And I do bring crystals with me sometimes. I was mentioning at the beginning of this video that I got a job, and again, I am someone who does believe in this stuff. The morning I told Danny, I was like, I looked in the mirror and like, basically I need some money to live. Like, I don't have full-time hours at my current job. So I was like, woke up in the morning, looked at the mirror, and obviously I'm applying on Indeed. And we've talked about this before, how like the job market right now is crazy. And I had a friend reach out to me. He was like, my job's hiring, you should apply. And the day of the interview, I brought my crystals with me in my bag. And, you know, so I do believe in that stuff. But obviously, I did get the job because of myself and my resume and my
Your
work
skill
ethic.
set. Yeah, absolutely.
But I like to believe in magic. I like to believe in the whimsy of it. And I know that some people take it negatively because there are evils in the world and there are bad things happening. And they're like, well, why didn't that person manifest? Whatever the case is, right? And there's always going to be the cynical people who look at all the darkness and negativity of it. And we don't want to be, again, like those like delusional white girls that are just like, everything's magic and you know what I'm saying? Like, we don't want to be labeled in that way, but like, yeah, I love crystals and I love spirituality and tarot and magic and witchy stuff.
Yes. Which leads us to one of the main characters, Nikki, of the movie Obsession. And we get introduced to her through the character Bear. And I found it so interesting that the movie started with her on the phone saying she lost her crystal necklace. Because I was also thinking, like, oh, well, maybe that was her protection against the spell, and that's why the spell worked. So Bear has a crush on Nikki, and I guess he wants to impress her or, you know, make himself look good. So he goes to a magic shop and is initially interested in buying her a crystal necklace.
Mm-hmm.
But then what does he do? I was gonna say he selfishly, but no, he does decide to get the wish box. It's called One Wish Willow, right?
Yes. He was originally going to get it for her.
Exactly. He initially bought that for her, but then selfishly uses it for his own gain. And guess what we learned? Okay, so this is where I get confused about the discourse because I feel like it was hinted at from the beginning that Nikki was not interested in Bear. But we all know that friend group, right? Where this person likes that person, but that person likes this person. But then these two are hooking up on the side. And
Yes, I do think it was foreshadowed, especially if you've been in those dynamics before. You're kind of like, I'm seeing something. Because one of my first notes when I was watching the movie, I was like writing notes, and I'm like, his friend's not giving him good advice. And I felt like his friend was very skeptical in the beginning. His friend Ian, who's just like, you know, kind of encouraging him not to do it, and then telling him again bad advice. Because I think he ultimately knew like it wasn't.
that's what I was perceiving it as. Like, I don't know if Ian was necessarily giving him bad advice, but I think he already knew that, oh, Nikki's not interested in him, but I don't want my boy to, I'm still help my boy out, you know?
Well, he tells him to call her Freaky Nikki, which he does end up doing, and it's like, no, don't call her that. Don't do.
Right. But who knows? Maybe that's how Ian got Nikki. And that's why he's like, oh, I don't know. Men are weird. This is the discourse.
Men are weird.
I don't know. Who knows what Ian's motives are? Do I think that, I don't know. Yes. Okay, forget Ian. Let's just focus on Bear for
forget
now.
Ian.
Ian's a side character. We learned that Ian and Nikki are hooking up later on in the movie, right? But initially, we learned that Sarah, right? Is that her name?
Yes.
Sarah has a crush on Bear, and Nikki is asking Bear if she doesn't say it explicitly, right? But she was like, oh, like, how do you feel about Sarah?
Yes, which I feel like, again, was another hint in the beginning that she's not interested. Because I feel like some people were like, well, maybe she was. And it's like, no. And we'll get into that too, where it was like, no.
Right. Throughout the whole movie, I never once thought, oh, there was a possibility that Nikki would be interested in Bear outside of the spell.
Exactly. Especially there was the scene where they do the montage and Ian, Sarah, their boss, they're all looking over at them when they're at work being with each other like, what the hell is going on here? And then even at the party scene later on, they're, you know, like everyone's just kind of like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right. I know we're jumbling things up as we usually do. But let's just backtrack a little bit. So we start with Bear dropping Nikki off at her house after a night out with the friends, with the friend group. And initially he was going to give Nikki the One Wish Willow gift. And I feel like even when he says, "Oh, I bought you something," and she was like weirded out by it, because he was like, "Oh, I'll give it to you later."
Yeah, I thought that was strange too because he's like, "Oh no, I left it at home."
Well, she was like, what did she say? Where she was like, "Oh, like I'm scared." Like, what was her?
Yeah, she said something like, "Yeah, I'm scared," or "I'm worried," right? And then he didn't like that. That was her reaction. Because again, I think she was already sensing like, "Oh, he likes me."
Yes, yes. And she's like, "Oh God, like don't get me anything. Like don't give me a gift." And then she's letting him know, right, in different ways. And I think this is a big discourse around this movie as well, right? Where men are picking up either the wrong signals or misinterpreting signals, right? So I feel like there was a moment in the beginning where Nikki was like, "Do you like me? Tell me right now." And then that was his opportunity to tell the truth, but he was like, he played it off and tried to play it cool. But I feel like if he would have just told the truth in that moment, she would have shut it down and just made sure that the lines were clear. Do you agree with me?
I agree, and I think more men need to learn how to have platonic relationships and just that's it and that's all it is, and stop calling it the friend zone and just have friends that are women. Yeah, sorry, I was gonna jump ahead to the end again because I'm trying to just talk about the movie as a whole, but it's fine. We'll get there.
We'll get there. So he ends up not giving her the One Wish Willow and using it for himself. And what does he wish for? He wishes that Nikki will love him more than anyone else in the world.
Yeah, and then that was another thing where people were like, "There's nothing wrong with that. Like people wish that all the time." And I was like, maybe people wish like, "Oh, I wish they liked me back," but to go as far as to be like, "Love me more than anyone." If you meet someone like that, you need to run in the other direction because you, again, need to have healthy love and you're able to love your friends and your family just as much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that that's good. I don't, yeah. What's not being discussed enough about this movie is just an unhealthy relationship dynamic, which is what we're seeing throughout the movie.
Right. And the name of the movie is Obsession, right? And I think Mel and I both agree on this, but you tell me if I'm wrong, that the one who was obsessed was and is Bear, right? He's been obsessed with Nikki for years, where we see even before he drops her off and makes the wish, he's sitting in the diner practicing a speech he's going to give her. And it's like, dude, you haven't picked up at all that she's not interested in you.
Exactly. And then there's also the scene of him scrolling through her Instagram, which reminded me of the movie It's What's Inside, which that main character was also named Nikki. Interesting. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, he was the one that was obsessed, and that's why he went as far as to make that wish.
Right. You wouldn't make that wish if you weren't obsessed with somebody. And I think the overall message is be careful what you wish for, right? Because even when he got what he wished for, it wasn't exactly the way he wanted it. Because guess what? She didn't want to be in a relationship with you. So you got an obsessed version of Nikki, and you tried to convince yourself that you can just move past this and she can act like the quote unquote normal Nikki.
Yes, throughout the film, once he fully realizes, like, oh shit, the wish worked, he never once is like, we can't, we have to end this. He's thinking, oh, just act normal, and this is okay, but not realizing that Nikki doesn't actually want him.
Exactly. At no point was he like, oh, this is going too far.
Yeah, I specifically, again, so one scene that I really specifically was just like, oh, this guy is crazy, where he's where he was like, we can't cook the cat, Nikki. Like, so she ends up his cat dies in the beginning of the movie, and she ends up cooking up the cat and serving it to him for lunch, and then he goes home later and is like, we can't cook the cat. And I was like, oh, he's not okay. Like, that's not a normal reaction to someone cooking your cat. Like, that just, I feel like I'm not seeing enough discourse on that end of it, because that scene, that was one of the creepiest scenes in my opinion, where I was like, what do you?
I was like, okay, no, like he's gonna think like this is absolutely batshit and doesn't want to be with her anymore. No, he was like, oh, how am I gonna let her know not to cook the cat? Like, we can't cook the cat.
Yeah, like, again, like that scene specifically, I was like, oh, this is not, like, he doesn't even care. He didn't really even, like, yeah, he threw up and was disgusted, but then when he went home, he was just like, all right, can't cook the cat, sweetie, still love you though.
Right, and even the scene where she duct taped the door.
And he just rips it.
I'm just gonna go to work and just ignore that she did this to the door. The fact that she stood the whole day waiting for him to get back home and ended up relieving herself on the carpet. And he's just like, yeah, go take a shower, wash it off.
Right. And then there could be people who argue, well, he's worried about what she's gonna do in reaction to him. And I was like, I don't really think in the beginning he was really worried about that. I think, again, he kept trying to make it work in a way.
Yes, I don't think he was scared for his life at all. He was just like, just be normal, please. And like, we can be together, but you just have to be normal. And it's like, no, she's screaming out for help because she doesn't want to be with you.
Yes. And there's the scene where she's sleeping and the real Nikki comes out because she's under the spell. She's in some sort of possession.
Some sort of trance.
And she's like, help me, like, Bear, help me, because she thinks that Bear is her friend who actually cares about her. And his response is, well, what's so bad about being with me? It's like, because I didn't want this and you're forcing me against my will, and this is you taking advantage of the fact that your magic worked.
Right. And I don't know if people have been talking about this scene online, but when they're at the party and she pulls the Jenga and then ends up reading a story she's working on, and it was some cryptic, creepy rendition of Hansel and Gretel being a metaphor of she sees Bear as her brother, right?
Yes.
Which we find out later on that she explicitly mentioned that to Sarah, saying, oh, I just see him as a brother. And I feel like this is another discourse that men try to bypass too, like, oh, for now she's just friend zoning me, she just sees me as the brother, but one day I'll be the husband, one day I'll be the boyfriend.
Right, again, like, just not allowing it to just be platonic and have the platonic relationships with women, just multiple women, like, just having women in your life in a healthy way. And even at the party too, Ian is telling him, like, you need to get her help, like, she's not okay. And they don't know that she's under a spell, but they know that she's not acting right. They're thinking it's some kind of like mental health, which is another conversation to be had, where it's like, do you want to be with someone who is unstable?
Right. That was something I mentioned to Mel when we initially spoke about the movie. I was thinking, as I was watching it, I was like, okay, maybe the spell didn't work, and he's realizing that Nikki is mentally unstable as a girlfriend, right? Which could also be a conversation of like, oh, well, men have this image of the girl they want, but then once they get her, it's like, oh, well, that's not the girl I thought you were.
Right, and that can go for men, women, either one, because there's also a scene where she's threatening to end her life. And again, there are relationships out there where you're with someone and they're like, you can never leave me. So again, being careful what you wish for, where you think you're getting into a relationship with one person.
Right, and then they're not who you thought they were, or they're not the image that you had of them, where I do think people do fantasize about their crush or whatever, right? Just of the surface level that they know, and not all of the intricate cycles that a person goes through, right? They're not always going to be the cool, chill girl.
Well, we get to the climax of the movie where, again, now he fully knows that this is the spell. And his only real attempt at trying to reverse it is buying another wishing willow and going to his friend and being like, you have to believe me. Like, please believe me. And you know what I was thinking about in this scene? Where you really need people in your life who believe you. Like, I was thinking about this when I would watch Stranger Things, where they're like, all right, guys, this is what's happening. And they all just are like down. They're all like, all right, we're in. Right? You need more people in your life like that, where you're like, this. Obviously, he's concerned for him for a second to be like, are you okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, have some concern for your friend's mental health, but then also be like, okay, I'm going to help you out. Where Ian doesn't believe him and then makes the wrong wish. But then he didn't try to go to, like, I don't know.
To more people, right? He didn't try to go to more people and be like, hey, can you make this wish for me?
Exactly. That's how I feel. Or not being selfish enough until the end. Not even selfish, like, how do I want to phrase it? Selfless, yeah. That's what I. So in the scene where she's asking him, she's like begging him, like, just like, kill me because this isn't me. Like, I want this to end. And he refuses, which obviously, again, like, not easy to just be like, I'm going to murder someone. But then at the end, I don't know, like, he ruined her life regardless.
Right. And just to go back to that scene quickly, when he mentions, oh, what's so bad about being with me? And we're like, oh, he's still missing the point. And she goes, but I've never been with you, Bear. Where she's telling him that it's not the real me that's with you.
Yeah. And even when he calls the operator to, like, fix it, and he's asking the operator if this is real love, and he's still like, he's still trying to convince himself. And then he's like, they're like, do you want to talk to Nikki? And he's like, yes. And it's just her screaming because she's trapped inside.
Yes. She's trapped. The real Nikki is trapped inside the spell, right? And we see, I wanted to talk about the scene where he meets up with Sarah. And I actually told Mel, I thought in that scene that they might end up kissing, and then it was going to be something of like, I thought it was going to be like, oh, he realizes all along it should have been Sarah, or, oh, look, he got the girl, but he still wants somebody else. They didn't end up kissing. They had a conversation.
Well, they were gonna kiss.
You think so?
But then Nikki showed up.
Right, because she was like, oh, I was to your left, and I don't know, I feel like that's another example of like, oh, like, look what's been in front of you the whole time, and he was just so focused on the person that didn't want him.
Right, again, it's like he wants her, but she wants him, and he wants her, and like that whole dynamic.
And that's not to say Bear had to like Sarah back, right? I don't think that if he doesn't like her, he doesn't like her, but you don't see Sarah over here making a wish to get you possessed and get you obsessed with her, right? No, she kept the boundaries.
Yeah.
She's like, okay, clearly Bear doesn't like me back. So the consequences of his wish, they keep they keep piling up, right? The consequences keep piling up. As much as he tried to justify his own actions and his love for Nikki, it was clear that they should not be together because the love that he thought he was receiving wasn't true love. It wasn't genuine. It wasn't the real Nikki. And she becomes so obsessed with him because he wished that she loves him more than anyone else in the world that she ends up killing people. You turned her into a murderer. She has no regard for anybody else's life but yours because you wished for her to love you more than anybody else. I do think there were some really great scenes in that movie. I loved the scene where she's holding the vase of the flowers. I loved I would also say, like, cinematically, she was always in some sort of darkness, right? Like, a lot of the scenes were her in the corner, or even when she comes to his door, you barely see her face.
Right, and I think that that was also an indication that it wasn't her. Like, a lot of her being in, like, a shadow.
Yes. Yes.
And even though I said it was a fast-paced movie, I do also think for the horror aspect, it was gradual. Like, the storyline moved pretty quickly, and I see a lot of people comparing it to Hereditary, where it's not the kind of horror you think is gonna happen, right? And it's like it's just kind of like little moments here and there, obviously until the end.
Is it really worth the relationship if you had to wish for it, if you had to force the person due to some sort of love spell, right? And that's something Mel and I wanted to talk about today. If you had to do some sort of spell, some sort of wish to get somebody to like you back or to love you, is it really worth it? Don't you want things to gradually and naturally develop?
This isn't like a direct comparison, but I've been listening to Olivia Rodrigo's new album, and it's about her previous relationship, and she has a song on it called Begged. And there's the line, like, to get it, I begged, and just talking about being in a relationship with someone where you feel like you're kind of you're still chasing them even in the relationship. And again, like, that's something that you don't want either. Like, you want mutual love for each other. You don't want one or the other loving the person more.
Right. Which leads to a scene in the end where Nikki makes the wish for Bear to be obsessed with her. And then we see a brief moment where he comes out of the bathroom and then they do kiss, or they come together, and you're like, okay, I wonder how that relationship would have been if we got to see more of both of them under the spell.
That would have been crazy.
Right. But I guess Bear did make the ultimate sacrifice after 2 deaths, nonetheless.
Right, he's like, all right, I guess enough has happened, and now I'll let her be free. And then leaving her with all the consequences of his actions, okay?
I would have also liked to see the consequences of Ian making the wish to be a billionaire. I wonder what consequences he would have received for that. And Curry Baker. See, I called him again. And Curry Barker did mention he wants to create a series, an anthology based on the One Wish Willow.
Yes, and I would love to see that because I think it would be like a Goosebumps type of vibe. And like every year when it is spooky season, I love to rewatch the Goosebumps. Not the newer one, even though that one was still pretty good, but like the old Goosebumps from like the 90s.
I actually liked the new one, and then
No, I said it was good, but I'm just
they made a second season, right? With why am I blanking on his name?
But they did it get canceled? Because I feel like it didn't.
It got canceled. What's his name? Ross.
David Schwimmer?
David Schwimmer, yes. David Schwimmer was in season 2. I didn't watch that, but I was like, oh, eventually I'll get to it. And then they canceled it. They need to stop rushing to cancel things because I do think shows take time. Like sometimes in the moment, it's not the big success you think it is, but over time, people will start to pick up on the show.
Yeah, things are just oversaturated these days, though. It's just too much.
No, I do love the Goosebumps comparison because I do think that there are consequences. There's always consequences for your actions, right? And just to bring it back to like doing some sort of spell, especially if it is some sort of black magic, we both believe that it's some sort of karma will come back to you.
I'm a big believer in karma. And I wanted to mention this earlier about like people wishing bad on other people. Even if it's someone who actually did something terrible to you, their karma will come and you might not see it. Right? Like you're not always going to see what's happening in someone's life. You're not going to see if they're getting laid off or they stub their toe. Like, you know, like whatever it is. Like it's never going to be something that you necessarily know is happening. And then you definitely shouldn't be wishing for anything like a terminal illness or anything like that onto people. Like that's not right. That's
right, which is why I think Bear was like, oh, I'm not wishing bad on Nikki, and that's why he made the comment, oh, what's so bad about loving me or being with me? Nala.
it's like, well, you're not in a real relationship.
And he's like, what's so bad about being with me? Still not recognizing that what's bad is that is not what Nikki wants. She didn't make the choice to be with you. You forced the relationship.
Exactly. And he's not even like a fully fleshed out character, and I don't know if that was intentional or not. And I know that they were just trying to be like, well, here's the story, because like in the scene where he goes, yeah, I don't reveal much about myself, and then says he wants to be a food critic or whatever. I don't know. Like, it was just like who he was as a person. I was like, you don't really know much about him.
But maybe he doesn't even know much about himself, right? Because she was like, oh, what do you want to be? And he was like, oh, I think like I could be a food critic or something like. And the reason why he wanted to be a food critic was like, oh, it should be an easy job, right? You just eat the food and then you review it.
Right, exactly.
Where she has goals and she wants to be a writer, and he thinks that he's special to her because she mentioned, oh, you're the only person I can talk to about this when it came to her writing. And I think that was another misinterpretation, right, for some audience members, where it's like, oh, look, she's showing him that he is a safe space to her. But just to reiterate, she's viewing him in a platonic way of like, you're my good friend who I can be vulnerable with as a friend.
And there's nothing wrong with having friends. We need to start normalizing, again, I'm like, just women and men having friendships.
Exactly, and especially if you have somebody you can talk to about your writing, for example, you're seeing this person as like an intellectual or somebody that isn't just a surface relationship. So that doesn't always equal attraction, right? Like physical or emotional attraction. It's platonic love, right? And I do think there needs to be more conversations about platonic love, because one thing, we were watching a video where I think some men misinterpret a woman's actions, or if he has the lens of like, this is my crush, he's going to convince himself that
everything is a message, everything is a sign. And even just platonic relationships with men and women and women, where it's like not everything needs to be sexualized.
Right. Right.
And like we mentioned, he is the one that's obsessed, and we see that again, like him not really having a plan for his life or anything like that, where it's like his only thing that he wants is for them to be together.
Out of all the wishes in the world.
Out of all the wishes, you know, I kind of liked Ian's wish. He's like, I want $1 billion, and
Well, Ian didn't get to use that money, unfortunately.
yeah. But again, yeah, I would be curious to see. Hopefully, someone does pick this up as a series, because we even see like the two people that worked in the shop. There was the woman at first where she's like giving him the warning and like saying people come back to complain. So like to see like those stories, and then later on, the guy that works there is like, oh yeah, I already used my wish, right? Like curious to see like what are other people wishing for, and like what are their consequences. What would you wish for, Danny? World peace.
World peace. What would I wish for? For the Sheehan Sisters channel to have millions of subscribers.
Yes. Who love and support. You gotta like be specific. And this is something you notice in like any type of wishing movie. Like I was thinking of Aladdin, where the genie is like letting him know, like, okay, like you gotta like phrase it, you know, you only get 3 wishes, so be careful. And I think you see this in other shows and movies where they delve into this concept of like, gotta word it real specific.
Which is why I think I don't really do any type of spells like that, because I want what comes to me to be authentic. I want it to be purposeful and meaningful, and to be what should be for me, right? Like what's meant to be will be, and what's not meant to be will leave.
Right, don't force anything.
Don't force anything, right? Because then does it feel as rewarding? And like that's what we're realizing with Bear. He was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make this a reward as much as I can, even when she is displaying actions that are absolutely ridiculous and horrendous. You know, we bring up her cooking the cat, where he's still trying to rationalize her behavior.
He could have easily gone and like found a family member, or even at the scene where he takes her to the hospital, he could have left her there. Like, again, she's still under the spell, so maybe there's not much other people could do, but just putting her in a safer environment, maybe.
Maybe if Nikki had her crystal necklace, she could have been protected from this spell. Do some protection, people. That's what I mostly focus on. Like I want to just stay protected, stay healthy. You know, just be positive. And listen, there are people out there that want people to be obsessed with them. I think that's the scary horror of it, is that there are people who are either obsessive themselves naturally, right, not under a spell, and then there are people who want to have someone obsessed with them. And I just think that goes back to the human ego.
Right, and then that goes into like celebrity culture that we talk about all the time on this channel, where there are crazy obsessive fans out there who take it just to the extreme, and then there are people justifying that as like, well, this is what you signed up for, and it's like, I don't think people should act that way. Like, I
do think that there are a lot of celebrities who are doing witchcraft, and maybe they do want obsessive fans. They want people to love them no matter what as well.
I think there are some people who do want that, but I don't think that all of them, I don't think every celebrity wants that, where they're like, I'm outside your house. Absolutely not.
I thought Curry did a great job.
Yeah, I'm excited to see more from them.
And I do agree. I do think the more we see modern horror, we're realizing just how scary like real world issues and human experiences are. Just humans doing their humanly thing.
Humans are scary.
Human emotions are scary, and I think even watching true crime, you see what love does to people, right? Some people get so obsessed because they don't want the person that they're in a relationship with to leave them, or they don't want anybody else to have them, that they'll go they'll go as far as taking that person's life, because it's like, if I can't have you, no one else can. So what did we learn? What was our overall message?
Be careful what you wish for. Don't practice dark magic.
And don't be like Bear.
Don't be like Bear. Do you have any spooky stories you want to share?
Spooky stories. Yes, you know what came to my mind?
What?
So one night, I'm gonna make sure it's real cinematic. One night, it was about midnight, dark, a cloudless night, if you will. Mel and I walked to our local park where we like to go to sit on the swings, to clear our minds, to just, you know, whimsically swing our problems away. Maybe smoke a little bit.
Did we smoke? Were we smoking at this point in time? I don't.
We were. I don't think we were that night.
Okay, because I was gonna say I don't think.
I think we did, but not. It wasn't like this particular night.
Okay.
But we would always go to the park because our safe space was just going to sit on the swings and venting our issues to the wind, right? Or just like swinging our problems away.
Yeah.
I don't know what something made me turn around, right? Where I just like looked behind me, and I kept swinging, and then I was like, oh my God, I thought I just saw somebody behind us. And then Mel goes, stop. I think I thought I saw somebody too. And we both described it was like a man, right? We thought we saw
Like a shadow figure of a man, and you know it could. Either way, scary. Either way, scary. You know, whether it was a ghost or an actual man.
there was nobody else in the park.
No, because then we both looked behind each other, behind ourselves again, and then we just ran. And it was like no one was around.
Nobody was. But we did tell a story in our gingerbread, our making gingerbread episode that Mel mentioned earlier. We did experience a dark entity.
Yes, we've had paranormal experiences. I have a lot, honestly. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night to shadows, or like, what is it? The sleep paralysis demon will visit me sometimes, or like, I'll wake up and think I see like a shadow, like a tall shadow man standing over me. And I've seen other people share similar stories like that. And of course, you could be like, oh, it's just your mind playing tricks on you, or you were still sleeping when it happened, or whatever. You know, people try to find reasonings behind.
No, Mel can see ghosts. I think I've mentioned this in the gingerbread episode, but I put it out there that I prefer not to. So like when for some reason the veil is thin, like we say, and I see them, that's when I really get freaked out, because I will put it out there like, don't show me them. I don't want to see them.
I definitely think I'm in tune to another realm, whether it's a ghost, whether it's like another plane of existence, whether it's like an alternate universe. But my thing is, I don't talk about it too much, and I don't really like fully embrace it, because like I already have enough mental health issues that like I don't need to be like I feel crazy enough as it is. So like I just try to be like, that's not for me. So like if people want to be a psychic medium, you know, to each their own. I don't want to do it. But I, you know, like I'll have dreams too, or like things and people will come to me in dreams and messages will be revealed to me or information's revealed to me. It's like I am a believer in it, but it's just like, you know, if I were to go to therapy and be like, I see dead people, you know, they're locking me up. Like they're like, all right, we're gonna put you in a padded room now.
So here's my take. I personally think that there are plenty of people who have abilities. I think that the people that you see on TV, these psychic mediums, I don't believe in them. I think that there are people who get messages when they don't want to, but do I personally think that there are mediums who can conjure a message for just any random stranger? No, I don't know. I think like it happens when you don't really want it to. So that's why I'm skeptical of certain psychics that are on the internet, because I just don't think that you can get everybody's energies. I think it depends on if you're meant to. Like if you're meant to pick up on something, then you will. But do I think that you can meet a random stranger and then sure, yeah, some people can pick up on it, but I don't think it happens when you want it to. I think it happens when you don't expect to. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but then I also, because I've talked about this at the end of one of our other videos, where I'm like, I think we're all psychic, right? And I was watching, if I remember their name, I'll put it on the screen, but I was watching a mentalist, right? Where mentalists are people are like a magician where they can read people's mind and they're like, I'll guess your PIN number, I'll guess your brother's name, I'll guess, think of any random person and I'm gonna guess them. And I went down like the rabbit hole of that. And there was like a specific person that I was watching where he was saying like he studied it and he doesn't believe in psychics, which is interesting. Which again, that's why I feel like I always feel like there's truth behind everything. And I do think there is some type of psychology behind, like, again, like where I was saying in our last video, like your best friend knowing what you're about to say. And I think there are people, if you study human nature enough, you can pick up on things. And I think that's what a lot of these psychic mediums do, where they'll start to say something and they'll watch you like nod your head yes or no and like go off of that to like get what they're saying. So it's like a mixture. I think there's a mixture of both behind it. And I always like to see things from both sides, the logical and the spiritual. And I'm like, I think it's a blend of both.
No, I like that. And I went down my own rabbit hole with mentalists too, where you ask certain questions and like you said, read the body language and you pull the information out of the person. And that's where I go back to like manipulators, right? Like it's I hate to say it, but it is easy to manipulate people, especially if they're emotionally driven, because people will mostly follow their feelings, right?
Right, and I think about that with like hypnotizing someone. Like, I don't think you can hypnotize someone who doesn't want to be hypnotized, right? If someone strongly doesn't believe in it, then they won't do it. But if they believe in it, and this is okay, this is what I want to say, right? Because someone will be like, well, I was faking it. And it's like, but you still went along with what that person was telling you to do. If they told you to close your eyes and sleep, even if you were pretending to, do you get what I'm saying? Like, you still listen to that person and they got you to do what they wanted in a sense. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree.
So yeah, like what I'm sorry if I cut you off before.
No, you didn't cut me off. That's why I feel like I don't know, like do you think you met a stranger and like you got a message about them like when you first met them?
I definitely believe in vibes, which again, people might take that a certain way or not, or energy. Like I'm often like, ooh, this person doesn't have good energy, or like something's off about this. Like I do try to listen to my intuition and my gut. But again, like sometimes I'll have dreams and then I'm like, why am I dreaming about this person? Or like, why is this coming to me? I think if I tapped in more, maybe I could pick up on messages and things or read that person more.
No, I believe in energy as well. Walking down the street, I don't know if has ever happened to you, but because I have anxiety, right? And I know there could be a difference between like, oh, am I just anxious or am I actually picking up on something intuitively, right? But I've walked past people or looked up at the person coming towards me and have gotten a bad feeling in my stomach where I'm like, that person, I don't know what that was, but I don't think that person is a good person, or like something's going on with that person.
Right, and I think people kind of carry their emotions on them, like as we were saying, where people can pick up on that and read into that and use it to manipulate them. Where like if someone walks in a bad mood, you could kind of feel like they're like, oh, I feel the tension, right? Or like if someone's happy, you start to like feel happy. Like
It's the ghost. Listen, I do believe that people have abilities, right? I think that there's always going to be scammers out there, right, who are going to manipulate people's emotions, especially when it comes to grief and loss. That's a big way to access somebody's vulnerability. But yes, I have met people who have dreams, who have visions, who see things, right? But they keep that a secret. They'll tell very few people because again, most people will be like, "You're batshit." That's not true. So yeah, that's just my take. I think these TV psychic mediums, I'm skeptical of them because I think most people that have abilities are like, no, people are gonna think I'm a psycho and I'm going to keep that to myself. Do you have a spooky story for them before we wrap up on 2 more horror shorts?
not off the top of my head. I feel I should have been a little I should have been better prepared for this.
Well, Mel has a lot of spooky encounters, especially when we were living together. Mel would walk past my room and be like, "Oh, there's something in your room," and I'm like, "What kind of entity? Like, you better let me know what you're seeing."
It's not always that I see it, it's more so that I feel it. And like you were just saying, some people don't want to share it, but you've already shared with the world that I see ghosts. So
You said you were psychic in one of our episodes.
yeah, but I don't like to tell people I see ghosts because I feel like it sounds like and it's not necessarily that I always see them. It's more so that I just like I can feel it. Like I definitely think if I really wanted to hone in on it and walk into a room and be like, yep, there's a ghost in here, and like really sit with it and, you know, get to know them.
Right. But listen, there's a lot of people out there who can see and feel things as well.
No, yeah, there's people that like to go on ghost hunting adventures, and I definitely
I kind of like that, but I just don't believe these production teams. I'm sorry. Like, I would love to go on a ghost adventure, but I feel like it's gonna happen when it happens, and you can't force it. We used to do the Ouija board.
we have done it before, and I don't encourage it. And again, I'm just not someone who really wants to lean into it. Like, could I? Yes, but I don't want to, and I don't want to be a part of it. And so Danny and I grew up in a haunted house, and I'm not gonna tell the full story. Maybe I'll save that for spooky season. But we also grew up in a family that loved horror films and believed in ghosts, and we're in an environment where everyone would kind of just like believe it. Like if someone said I saw a ghost, they'd be like, all right, tell me about it. They aren't like, you're crazy. And then again, we spent a lot of time watching horror films. I remember being 6 years old watching Freddy Krueger. I remember being 7, 8 years old watching Final Destination and watching Scream and watching all these horror films that maybe I shouldn't have been watching and probably did influence me in a way. But yeah, and still to this day I watch compilations of paranormal videos and people telling ghost stories. And I don't think, yeah, like you're saying, like I don't think this big production is gonna walk in and find it. I think it is purposeful that a lot of the time when people tell stories, they don't have video proof. They don't always have pictures, or a lot of time if there is a video or a picture, it's very old. Like I think there is some type of intentionality on the ghost end as to why that is.
Right. And like we say, there's always going to be skeptics. I personally think that there is more to this world, right? There's different realms, there's things we can't see, or some of us can, but I do think there's more beyond just what the human eye can perceive. And I believe in energies, and I'm here for it all. Like I enjoy the spookiness, but I don't personally want to see it myself. Even though it kind of is an adrenaline rush when you have ghosts in the house. Ah!
I will tell a more wholesome ghost story.
What wholesome ghost story do you have?
So we've spoken about our dad who passed away, and I do believe in receiving signs from a loved one. And I do think a lot of time people will be like, oh, you're like, I am the crazy girl who sees everything as a sign. I'm like 333, 444, angel numbers, everything's a sign. There's this, that pertains. I'm gonna sit there like a crazy person and connect the dots of everything and be like, this represents that, and this means this, and that means that, right?
Yes, I'm right there with you.
I even have 1111 tattooed on me, so not beating the allegations of being the crazy crystal girl, but that's okay. It's just that I don't want to be crazy, but here I am saying it. Like, I do understand that a part of it is a little crazy. But so our dad's mother collected dimes, and we don't really fully know the reason behind that. She did pass away when our dad was young, so obviously we didn't meet her, but we knew from him and his siblings that she would collect dimes. And so me and Danny would collect dimes, and our mother believed in that too, where it's like if we saw dimes, that was a sign. And I've heard this story from other people who've lost a loved one. There's like a symbol or a sign that they believe is that loved one coming through. And I remember it was the anniversary of our dad passing, and it was like I had moved out here a year after he passed, and this had been 2 years after he passed, and I was at work, and I remember my mom called me, and I walk outside to take the phone call, and I go through like a back door that the employees would go through, and there was a gate, and on the gate there was a dime just sitting there. I have a picture too, and I'll have to search for the picture and I'll upload it, but there was a dime sitting right there on the gate, and I was like, what are the chances? Like, it's just the cosmics, the cosmos or whatever come together.
No, I would find dimes in pretty random spots too, and I'm sure like we say, people can chuck it up too. Oh yeah, there's coins all over, whatever. But it'll be in like such a random area that you're like, okay.
It looked like someone had perfectly picked it up and placed it there, and it was just super weird, the timing of it all. Right, and like these days, people don't really use cash and money and coins, so I think it's even more rare to find it. And then another moment, again, after I'd moved out here, I don't know if it was his birthday or his anniversary, but I was at a bar with friends, and Mrs. Doubtfire is playing on the TV. And I remember I sent a picture to Danny, and our dad loved Robin Williams, and we loved Robin Williams, and like we were really upset when Robin Williams died, and then our dad passed away, which, you know, obviously we were devastated and upset about that as well. But that was a movie like he introduced to us, and I just remember thinking how random. I know sometimes some bars play like random movies, but for the most part they'll have like sports on or news or something. And I was like, what are again the chances of this day being here, seeing that movie play? And again, it could just be me reading too much into everything.
No, I'm right there with you because with the dimes as well, I'll find them in the most random spots and I'll find them when I need to. And I always feel like when I spot the dime, I always pick it up whenever I see it and I keep it. Um, but I remember this one job I was at and it was my last day and I found that day I found a dime, but let me tell you, right? Because I walked in, right? Like it was an office. It was an acupuncture office. I walked in. I set everything up. I had to do the opening duties, right? And at some point, I like turned around, and there was a dime by the entrance of the office, which I already passed, and like would have already noticed it at some point as I was doing my opening duties. And I was like, no, this wasn't here before. But who knows, maybe it was and I missed it. But I'm telling you, there'll be some random times where I'm like, what is this doing here? What is this dime doing here? And Theo's my witness too, because I'll be like, Theo, look.
Yes. And sometimes Danny and I will like send pictures or texts to each other of things that are happening.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, our family, a lot of our family members have experienced some ghost stories.
Yeah, we have a lot of people in our family who believe in it and like have had their own ghost or paranormal things happen, and they love to share scary stories. Do you believe in the glitch in the Matrix stories? Have you seen those?
Mm,
Like someone will say something like duplicate it itself. Like that's the main one I see, and I feel like a lot of the people
right, they're making it up.
for attention. But then that's another thing, right? Where we talked about people doing things for attention. I think sometimes you can tell, like if that's not the content the person usually makes and they don't continue to make content after that, I feel like you could be like, okay, yeah, this was just like a one-off. They wanted to share this story.
Right. Yeah. Listen, do I think that like weird coincidences happen when I'm walking down the street where I'm like, oh, this is very matrixy, like
The simulation, they're spawning new people.
yes. Or like you ever see like everybody's just all intersecting at the same time, like crossing the street, and it's like,
You know what's something I think about a lot is like, have you ever heard of like, because like people trying to prove it's a simulation, they're like, but you never see your neighbors bringing in groceries. Have you ever seen that? And I think about that a lot because I'm like, I still think about that till this day because I still have not had a moment of seeing it happen. Like I'll see my neighbors walking their dog. I'll see people moving in and out. I still never seen a comment below because after I read that, I was like, I'm gonna be hyper vigilant. And usually, once you're more aware of something, you start to pick it up and notice it more. So I was like, all right, after seeing that comment, I'm gonna start to pay attention more.
I'm trying to think because I live in a building with a lot of people, so my floor is typically quiet. Yeah, I don't know if I've seen my neighbors. I'll see maybe one or two neighbors, but never bringing in groceries.
What's that about? Now I feel like I'm gonna. No, I've been talking about this for. Oh, I think I've talked about this with you before. Like I'm still waiting to see it happen. Like maybe now it'll happen, but I still doubt it. Even when I'm bringing in my groceries, I'm like,
Nobody sees you, right? Well, it's funny because now we have Ring cameras, so people are like, oh, I just see them on the Ring camera.
yeah,
But one movie Mel and I do want to rewatch and talk about eventually on this channel is The Truman Show. So I feel like we can get more into like the simulation theory when we watch that.
yes, I love that movie. That's probably in my top of movies, like my top 5 maybe.
So we have a few spooky movies we have on our list because we're in Summerween, but we're approaching fall, and that is our favorite season.
We're gearing up, okay? So get ready.
We're gearing up. We have a lot more horror to review. But maybe Curry Barker is also a Summerween girly and was like, I'm gonna release Obsession over the summer.
Right, instead of waiting for the fall. But yeah, we want to rewatch some movies. We want to rewatch Hereditary.
I told Mel that one scene lives rent free in my mind. We all know the scene. I don't know. Maybe there's different parts that other people get fixated on, but when the head flies,
We know. And again, that's like that's like, again, going back to what we were talking about, where it's not necessarily, it's horror for sure, but it's not in the sense of like, oh, it's a ghost.
right? No, that's a life experience that the brother has to live with.
It's like a final destination moment. That's why those movies were so.
That's another series that lives rent free in my head because I walk around looking like, oh, this. What if this ladder just fell? What if this just? What if a air conditioner just fell from the fucking window?
Yeah, I always think about making like a kitchen horror movie, and now that I'm saying it, it's probably gonna come out and exist. And
Well, I don't know. Did you watch this? What was it called? The Menu?
I did watch The Menu, yeah.
I never saw it, but like that's supposed to be a horror, right?
That I really enjoyed that movie. That one was really good to me, and it was hard. That one was good, but like mine is more like on the Final Destination side of like the things that could happen. Because I have gotten locked in a freezer before, and I luckily had my phone on me and had to call someone to be like, I'm stuck in the freezer.
Oh my god. No, I could see the movie. So I've seen a few horror gruesome stories of like someone getting like stuck in an oven, it's like an industrial oven, not
When I was in culinary school, they show us films to like safety, and there's like one, and it's not real, but they show us one of this girl carrying like a sizzling hot pot of the oil, and then she falls and it falls on her, and they're like trying to, like, it's a weird, like they're trying to warn you of like kitchen safety, but then they're doing it in like a horror way, and you're like, what the fuck is happening?
no, it needs to be like The Bear, but like the horror film.
Exactly, or like using a slicer. There's people who like actually cut their. There's so much that you can do with it. Have you ever watched Sweeney Todd? In Sweeney Todd too, where she is cooking the people. So like that could be like another aspect to the horror film. Anyway, just putting it out there. Curry Barker, if you want to hit me up, I can be like the consultant or a writer.
Yes, hire the Sheehan sisters. We have a lot more talent than just sitting in front of a camera talking.
We have goals.
But just to, circle back to our horror theme, we have 2 more shorts we wanted to mention, which was Milk and Cereal, also by Curry Barker. Why do I want to call him Curry Baker so bad? That is another, real world scenario where it's 2 friends who have a pranking YouTube channel, and in actuality, one of them is a serial killer. And I feel like that ties into the theme of you never really know somebody, right? Like, here's this friend who is murdering his friend group, and he's just like, oh yeah, these are my pranks.
Right, and that's another thing with the prank YouTubers who take things too far sometimes. I don't know if you remember, like years ago, they did the prank of like pretending to kidnap someone.
Who did?
Oh, I don't remember their name. They got canceled for it rightfully, but they like pretended to kidnap someone and then pretended like they were gonna kill them or kill someone they know, and like the whole time this person is really thinking like they've been kidnapped.
Wow.
Because people are sick. I hate pranks. I hate pranks. If you ever prank me, you're dead to me.
Yeah, I'm not really into the pranks either, unless they're harmless and funny.
Right, but I feel like people just do something fucked up and go, it's a prank.
No, some people are really sick and twisted and do have they think their sinister sense of humor is common. So they're just like, no, isn't that so funny? He thought he was gonna die, but he didn't.
Or like they go up to people on the street and bother them and then go, it's a prank. And it's like, leave people alone, especially if you don't know them. Like, unless it's your friend or family member and like maybe you jumped out of a closet, like, boo, okay, prank, you know? Yeah, like keep it harmless. Like the person has to laugh after.
Right. Right. And that's a conversation we should have in another episode with family members or friends who think making fun of people is their humor, but in actuality they're just a piece of shit and not a good person.
Yeah.
But that's another conversation for another time.
But yeah, sorry, back to the back to the short film. The play on milk and cereal being spelled cereal, kind of giving you the little hint there. But even though they gave us that hint, I was still watching it like what's about to like what's going to happen next and like what's going on here.
Right. No, same. I was confused at first because I was trying to figure out the purpose behind the short film. It's not even a short film. It's an hour long.
Yeah, it's pretty much like a featured film, yeah.
It's good. Like you don't fully understand that this is a twisted psychopath who's planning everything out and setting his friends up to be killed. So go check that out if you want to get more familiar with Curry's work. We did want to shout out, did you have any other commentary before we shout out another creator?
No, yeah, we'll link all the films below, and I wanted to give a shout out to an up and coming filmmaker. Their name is Givan May. They made a short film called Life Insurance. It's only 5 minutes, so I definitely encourage you go and watch it. But they're hoping to get this turned into a feature film. And yeah, go support them. We love supporting smaller artists and creators, and it is an interesting concept.
Yes, I think there's a lot of potential, and that's another example of like real world experiences that can be more horrifying than the paranormal.
Right. The whole it plays into people trying to sell you life insurance, and it plays into like religion,
Cults.
yeah, cults. And I was even thinking about even just people who work at funeral homes and they're selling you a casket and trying to make money off of grieving people. So hopefully they get a lot of attention and this gets picked up, and I can't wait to see more from them in the future.
Yeah, they're still really early on in their career. But one thing Curry Barker did mention in an interview is to start by making shitty short films. Not that it's shitty, but obviously the quality, you're going to start with a certain quality, right? Until you have the resources to move up. So,
Right. You got to start somewhere. Same with the, YouTube videos.
I love horror shorts. It wasn't until recent years that I got into it. But yeah, we've always watched the horror genre. Our mother was a big horror fan, but she kind of likes the cheesy horror.
She does, yes. But we were watching horror films at a young age while other people were probably watching Disney films.
Yes.
What else did you want to say?
I would love to revisit the Final Destination franchise with you. I watched their most recent one. I think it was from it's either 24 from 2024 or 2025 that it came out.
Okay, I haven't watched that one yet.
It was actually really good. I think there was like a time in the franchise where I got over the Final Destination movies. So I was like, oh, I haven't seen like the newer versions, and then I watched that one, and I was like, okay, like it lives up to the franchise name.
Right, it definitely could get repetitive, but
But you know what? I do think just having like an anthology of like all the different staff in the restaurant or the kitchen that end up in some sort of freak accident.
yes. So also if the creators of Final Destination want to reach out, let me know. Don't steal my ideas. I'm excited for spooky season. I'm excited for us to talk more about this type of stuff. Let us know if you watched Obsession. Let us know if you like horror films, if you believe in all of this stuff, if you believe in like the occult or paranormal.
Yes. We have some movies on our list that we're going to be watching and most likely including in our episodes depending if we liked it or not, really. Cuz guess what? There's series, one horror series that we're going to watch the final season, but I is Yellow Jackets a horror? I guess it could be, right? Because they're also like cults.
Yeah, it definitely is some type of horror for sure. And we definitely want to continue with that.
We're gonna watch the last season. We're still waiting for that announcement. Just let us know your thoughts on all the spooky things. How are you celebrating Summerween? Did you watch Obsession? What did you think? What movie should we watch? What other spooky things should we talk about?
Yes. Comment below, subscribe, like, share with all your friends.
And stay tuned because there's a lot more on this channel. We will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.